Mira Business FM, your daily guide to the markets, money, and more. Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.
This is the Morning Drive. It's Mira Business FM. Next up, the Gulf's new strategic hotspot as tensions reshape global trade and energy routes, and energy security dominates the boardroom agenda. All eyes have turned towards a critical but often overlooked hub situated outside the Strait of Hormuz, which is the Emirate of Fujairah. Strategic value has shifted from Fujairah being just a regional port. Suddenly it's become a global talking point. So, here to discuss the growth in the Emirates' strategic importance, what that means for shipping, what it means for oil markets, and I guess the wider Gulf economy, is Frank Kane. Frank is editor-at-large at Arabian Gulf Business Insights. Joins us this morning. Morning, Frank. How are you?
I'm great, Tim. Thanks. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you. It's been a long time. I want to, before we jump into, I want to really examine Fujairah, if you like, a little bit. But I'm interested in your thoughts on developments this weekend. The whole deal that apparently we're seeing signed electronically, that's going to be signed formally on Friday.
Well, I think we have to take it, don't we? We all want peace.
Yep.
The alternative is not a very nice prospect, further conflict and violence here, which has been very damaging for the past few months. So we'll take it. But most of the people that I've spoken to, in the oil trading world and geopolitical world, they are quite skeptical that this is a long-lasting peace. This is a memorandum of understanding, remember, and what MOUs tell you is where people agree, not where they disagree. And there are lots of areas of disagreement here still to be worked out. So I'm skeptical. We'll talk about Hormuz, I'm sure, in the context of Fujairah, but in particular, the idea that suddenly you can start the engines and all the ships and let the oil flow, I think that's quite impractical, really. Most of the experts in the energy world and in the shipping world and in the marine insurance world, they all think it will be weeks or months rather than days. It will not happen quickly.
It's not a matter of just turning back on a tap, is it? That's the point.
Absolutely, yeah. The global energy industry is extremely complicated. You can't turn it on and off like a switch. Lots of oil wells have been plugged, as they say. There's lots of crude floating or in storage on the western side of Hormuz. The ships aren't here. The ships are all headed to America, which is where the action was after the strait closed. So lots of those ships have to come back, pick up cargoes, or get ready-made cargoes out, and it will be some time before we see a real difference. Some in the oil market, and I think that this has been reflected in the way that oil prices have fallen over the past couple of days. Some think that there will be a tsunami of crude heading through Hormuz. I don't think that will be the case, and most traders would tend to agree with that. It will not be so quick.
I mean, oil prices this morning is around about the $82 a barrel. It's a significant
way down,
drop, isn't it?
Yeah, when you think the height was in the middle of March when it hit 126.
Yep.
And people were then talking about 150, 200 for sometime this year, the summer. That seems to be headed off, and thank God, that equals global catastrophe. Demand destruction all over the place, global economic recession.
Yep.
So we're lucky that hasn't happened, and around about the $80 mark, most Gulf producers could live with that as a reasonable, medium to long-term prospect. So that's okay. As I said, we'll take that. But there are lots of things that could go wrong with this peace deal, not least, of course, the involvement of Israel, who have expressed their dislike, in principle, I think, of the idea that could blow up any time. We don't know how it's going to go down in the USA either, because a long-term peace deal would require congressional approval. Some elements of the Republican Party think that this is too much of a concession. When you think that Trump said unconditional surrender, just a few weeks ago, I mean, this almost looks like unconditional surrender the other way round, if you like. And then for the region, J.D. Vance yesterday gave an interview where he said that the Gulf countries would be taking part in a $300 billion reconstruction fund for Iran. I wonder how many people have asked the Gulf countries about this. Do they really want to be giving money to the country that's been, lobbing missiles at them for a few weeks?
Well, this is the interesting thing to me, isn't it? The really interesting point about all of this is apparently we have a page document with 14 points, but the glaring thing is the lack of detail.
Yes.
At the moment, and it seems to be, this is definitely in, and I do not know what to think or what to believe. So I'm kind of reserving judgment, to be honest with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Back to the original point, isn't it, that you made starting out? It is, if this is a step in the direction that we hope, then that's a good thing. So I take the positives from that. Let me ask you a little bit about Fujairah, because we've been reading some of the things that you've been writing, and I'm interested in a couple of particular pieces, actually, but mainly a piece that you wrote about Fujairah. And it seems like Fujairah has always been logistically something of a powerhouse in its way, right? But lately, it seems to have become much more than we realise. And let me explain. If you look at the last 18 months or so of a growth in Fujairah, clearly there's the global energy narrative at the moment, which has brought it into the fore. But it's shifted from a regional terminal to kind of a global linchpin for energy security, I think. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, it is for sure, and a growing linchpin, if you can have such a thing. Yes, you can. I'm sure. Why not? Look, Fujairah, there has been a long-term strategy to develop the port and the industrial zone around Fujairah. 2012, Abu Dhabi decided to put a pipeline through there from Habshan in Abu Dhabi Emirates, which now ends up in Fujairah. And of course, Etihad Rail goes there too, both cargo and passengers eventually. So it is a direction of development, most of it masterminded by Abu Dhabi and funded by Abu Dhabi, which is an important point here because it takes an awful lot to fund a large-scale industrial and maritime development like that. But the pace certainly has accelerated. Since the war, the pipeline, excuse me, the pipeline that was completed a few years ago is now running at maximum capacity. Between 1.5, 1.8 million barrels a day go through that. A second pipeline is in process, currently about 50% completed. That will be finished next year. And then just a couple of weeks ago, Abu Dhabi announced plans still, this will probably go ahead, for a third pipeline, an oil products pipeline, so things like gasoline, diesel, naphtha, those kind of things, which will make Fujairah. It will be able to take most of Abu Dhabi's current output without anything touching Hormuz, and that is quite a strategic development, and it's a hugely strategic development. Fujairah was always a huge bunkering hub. That is the fuel that ships need to sail around the world.
Yeah.
So ships would often, pick up crude on the other side of Hormuz from Abu Dhabi or from the Saudi ports, and would then come out to Fujairah, load up with fuel, and head off to China or Japan, excuse me, or wherever. So it was always very important in that sense. The third biggest in the world.
Yeah.
The third biggest in the Eastern Hemisphere, between Rotterdam and Singapore. But now it has become a crude transit hub in its own right. There's 100 million barrels worth of storage in Fujairah. That's enormous. That means Fujairah on its own could fuel the whole world's crude oil needs for one day on its own. So it is getting bigger and bigger and more important. And of course, the crucial fact here is geography. It is outside the Strait. So in theory, it can avoid Iranian interference, which we've seen an awful lot of in recent weeks. In theory. Now, of course, there are caveats here because the port and the facilities there were hit during the kinetic phase of the war. But you have to think that when the other two pipelines are up and running, that Abu Dhabi would invest some serious amounts of its considerable capital to providing significant and sophisticated defenses for the pipeline and the port facilities.
It's a considerable play, isn't it, in terms of global energy markets, in terms of Fujairah's role, the port of Fujairah's role. Do you think we will see, or are we seeing, a Fujairah premium on regional trade? Because you're going to see people wanting to utilize Fujairah's terminal facilities.
Yeah, you are for sure. And at the moment, they still need to invest a bit more in the maritime facilities there, the loading facilities and those kind of things, to get that full capacity going. But that's quite an easy thing, really. Those kind of facilities are quite easily constructed. They're reasonably expensive, but Abu Dhabi can afford it. And what Abu Dhabi are looking for here, this is what the experts say, they are looking for redundancy, i.e. they want the ability to avoid Hormuz if something like this ever happens again. They can virtually satisfy their whole export needs, without going through Hormuz at all. And what price do you put on that?
I mean, it's a lot more than an insurance policy, isn't it?
Oh, for sure, yeah. I think it's a long-term strategic reorientation, if you like, to have it on the eastern side of the country rather than the western side. Of course, you're never going to give up the incredibly sophisticated facilities that you have in the Gulf. You will carry on using those.
Yeah.
But you will have the reassurance that if anything like this happens again, you will not suffer too much. You will be able to completely compensate for what you're losing on the west by what you can do on the east.
It's also, isn't it, we're at an inflection point for Fujairah, for the growth of Fujairah, and I suppose there's a link between the growth and what's going to be the oncoming success of the Etihad Rail project. Is that the missing kind of piece of the puzzle when it comes to connecting, the Gulf's heavy industry with the ocean? Yeah.
The rail is the railway is very important indeed, and Fujairah recognises this. I think that they are probably the most advanced in terms of actual track being laid down, and stations being completed, rather more advanced than any on this side. Look, we all remember Fujairah, as a nice place, to go for a holiday.
This was part of your article,
Yeah,
exactly.
a lovely place. You crest the hill over the Hajj Mountain, you see that fantastic coastline in front of you, and it's wonderful. Got a nice, relaxing weekend ahead.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if in decades to come you'll crest that mountain and see, the canyons of Sheikh Zayed Road or the skyline of Abu Dhabi. Who knows? I'm going up to the realms of fantasy here to some degree, but I think the only way is up for Fujairah.
I was just thinking of Sheikh Zayed Road in Fujairah there. I went off into the mists of time, I think. And look, we're talking about Fujairah this morning, mainly, but is this part of a wider Gulf strategy? You've written about how both the UAE and Saudi, about their initiatives to bypass the Strait of Hormuz, kind of effectively insulating the global economy from regional flashpoints, right? That's the crux of the conversation. So helping to kind of diffuse the global economic crisis to a point. To what extent is this a coordinated effort between the two nations, and how much of our global energy stability now rests on what is essentially a bypass infrastructure? Yeah,
it's a really good point. Since the war broke out, since February the 28th, a lot of the narrative in the West in particular, and from American media in particular as well, is how the fact that we haven't had a global economic catastrophe. And they say that that's down to the fact that American energy is now dominant. We can supply the world's needs. We don't need the Middle East anymore. This is a kind of Trumpian theme, which many of the even non-Trumpian media in the US have taken up. I took issue with this in a recent column by saying, excuse me, that in fact, if you look at the figures, the largest chunk of compensation came from the UAE and Saudi Arabia bypassing Hormuz. So I expressed it as, the Gulf is taking one for the team here in terms of the global economy, and at great cost to ourselves here. Whether it's coordinated now, these days you hesitate to talk about coordination too much between Saudi Arabia and the UAE. But I think they were both working under the same imperative. They realized that to keep their own economies going, they had to get oil out by bypassing Hormuz, and they both, fortunately had the facilities to do it. Saudi with the Yanbo pipeline, and as we've said, the UAE with the Fujairah pipeline. So, maybe it was fortunate circumstance, but they had the wherewithal to do it, and they did it. And that has been a major element in preventing, the complete grinding to a halt of the global economy for want of crude oil.
We're a little bit short of time, but there's one question that I really wanted to ask you, and it would have been, before the weekend, something like, what are the risks if tensions escalate further? So that would have been the question I would have asked you. Question now, and hopefully this transpires, is what happens now that tensions seem to be de-escalating to a point where we have a deal? I mean, expectations have to be that Fujairah will emerge stronger economically, certainly in terms of visibility as well, from a period of instability.
Yeah, for sure. I think that Fujairah is going to be an investment magnet, for both inward investment from Abu Dhabi, from the big sovereign wealth funds and national investors there. It will also be a magnet for investment from foreign oil trading companies, from bunkerage providers, from shipping companies. Because they will see, the crucial strategic importance of it. Should anything like this happen again, and I think, what we were saying earlier about the peace deal, there is no guarantee that this will not happen again. Is the issue, I think.
No, and as you put it, I think, the prime maritime gateway to the world.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
It could be indeed.
It's been good to talk to you. Frank Kane is editor at large. That's a great title, by the way. It so
I like it too.
so
I like
suits
it.
you.
I'm not quite sure what it means, but I like it.
It's just, it's like, you remember that series in the 70s, Kung Fu? Do you remember that with David Carradine?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
he was Kane in that, wasn't he? And
He
used
was
to
indeed. There you
roam
go.
from town to town, solving crimes.
That's me.
That is you, Frank.
Roaming from emirate to emirate.
Yeah, in your little orange suit. I don't know, we're painting a very strange picture here. We've gone off at a tangent. Frank Kane is editor at large at Arabian Gulf Business Insight. It's been great to talk to you. Thank you.
Pleasure, Tim. Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it. Don't forget to like and follow and subscribe for more interviews like this from Mira Business FM.
Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio. Mira Business FM. The sound of success.
It's the morning drive at Mira Business FM. Thinking your pension at home is enough? Question mark. As more UAE expats rethink retirement after living costs and market volatility. We're now joined by Michelle Karbi. Michelle is the founder of the Michelle Karbi practice, and she's here to break down the biggest pension blind spots, the retirement risks, what expats should be doing now to protect their future. So just a very small topic for you, Michelle, this morning.
Nothing like Mount Everest.
I'm telling you. Welcome back. It's been a while. It's good to see you.
It has. Thank you, Tim. Thanks for inviting me back.
You're more than welcome. So why are pensions becoming even more of a major talking point for expat workers at the moment?
Do you know, we found that since 2020. And think about those, couple of major events that have happened. COVID, I think, really catapulting that. Is really when we feel that clients actually sat down and thought, wow, the world is a different place. Because you think about the world pre and post COVID, right? And you've then, had this natural point to reflect. Because a lot of people lost their jobs, a lot of people became ill, and it was a natural point that people reflected and thought, have I done enough? If I am without employment, what will happen to me? What will happen to my family? So it created that natural reflection point where people thought, actually, I need to become more responsible. I need to think about these things that I've put off, like retirement, because people always thought it was on the never, never. I'll do it next year, I'll do it in 2 years, or I'll do it in 5 years. But it was that point that people actually thought, I need to take this into my hands and do something with it. Then you had the Ukraine war that, again, affected a lot of people, especially across Europe. And that was another reflection point. And then more recently, with what has happened in terms of the conflict in the Middle East this year, that's caused a lot of people to reflect and really take their financial planning perhaps more seriously than they've ever done before. And it's quite a newsworthy topic. It's been spoken about at length in the UK, for example, certainly for the last 6 or 7 months, because they're talking about the triple lock, and what drag that has had on the economy and the finances in the UK, creating that safety net. But depending on which side of the fence you're talking, if you look at what the Conservatives did in 2010, they say they took over a desperate pension situation, especially with people in retirement. There was a lot of poverty, and they wanted to do away with that, so they brought in the triple lock. And so all these things cause one to reflect. When you see things in the media, you hear things, you have these natural reflection points, and it really does make you sit up and pay attention.
Well, it does. I mean, it's as though, COVID and the Ukraine war, these global events are like a kick, aren't they?
It is.
Up the where. But sometimes that's what it takes. Do you think expatriates and expatriate workers in this country from all over the world, of course, do you think we suffer from a false sense of security about retirement funds at home?
Absolutely. I think, people think that employment, perhaps in the Middle East or wherever they currently are, is forever. And, they can plan to do something about retirement next year, or I'm too young, retirement is for old people, I've still got 20 years to save. And they don't do it. And they just put it off, and then, suddenly it's on their doorstep and they've got a massive mountain to climb. A lot of people, I learned this very early on, and I'll share it with you. Not many people think about this. How long do you have in your working life? And then, if the average person retires, what is retirement these days? But with medical science progressing so well, And for people living longer, a lot of people find that they will spend longer in retirement than they have in their working life. So making sure that you've got provisions for retirement or your post-work, post-full-time work lifestyle can be sustained for yourself and your family. And Tim, a lot of people think retirement is going to be cheaper. And that is a misconception.
Oh, isn't it?
Because, you spend more time at home.
Yep.
So your electricity bills are more because the lighting is on, or if you live in a country that has heating or AC is required, those are running 24/7 where they were perhaps off while you went to the office. And you've got more free time on your hand. So, if you've got more free time, you need to be entertained. So, you're going to, wherever, more holidays, more outings, more shopping, more things that you need to do to fill your time. And a lot of these things cost money. So retirement is not going to be cheaper.
It's not. The only thing I've learned about getting older is that it speeds up. The days go by a lot faster. I remember as a kid, summers used to last. Summers were like a year when I was a kid. Summers now are gone in an instant. So, life speeds up. That's just how it is, isn't it? What are the biggest retirement mistakes you see clients making? If they assume their existing arrangements are enough, are we overestimating how far our savings in the arrangements that we make here will go? Is that an issue?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you think about how far, people in this region, if you take 100 dirhams, for example, they can spend it and they feel it doesn't go very far anymore, especially with the way inflation is. But if you give somebody £20 or $20 in the US or in the UK, for example, that can still go quite far. And that's still a meaningful amount of money to somebody. But, and I think in this region, people take employment and money and the ability to earn money, they take it for granted. And then you've got things like COVID or the Middle East conflict that really does put things into perspective, where people are furloughed, for example, and that ability to earn consistently goes away. So that's a mistake that people think about, and they don't think about the tomorrow. They're thinking about today. And they're not thinking about saving money. They're thinking about spending money. So it's a real shift change needs to take place where people do sit down and reflect on their finances, speak to financial professionals, and try and understand what budgeting looks like, what their retirement looks like, running a shortfall analysis. What have they got now? What do they need to save in order to fund a reasonable standard of living in retirement? And a shortfall analysis would do that. It's like a cash flow description for what your retirement is going to look like.
Do you know, it's difficult though, because if you're looking at retirement, you're kind of facing mortality, right, a little bit more. And I think for a lot of people that's hard. So I get that. On the other hand, it's something you have to do, and you got to decide, haven't you? What kind of retirement do you want? How would you like to live? Where do you see yourself? You've got to kind of be able to picture those things. If someone let's say someone spent 10 years in the UAE, you've been here for a decade, you've had uninterrupted contributions to your home country pension system as an expatriate. Let's take that as an example. Is that a hole that you can fill? Or is the maths kind of broken as you looking outside from here?
It's a difficult one, Tim, because you really need to understand the mechanics of what that system looks like and what level of benefit that will give you in retirement. But certainly, that's why we talk to clients on a regular basis. Regular touch points are important so that you can understand what you've got and what it's going to give you. And making sure that that is going to be enough. Because circumstances change all the time. People need to make sure that they inflation proofing whatever retirement savings they have. Because if your retirement pot isn't growing by 4.5% to 5% a year, at least, it's not keeping pace with global inflation.
Sure.
And very quickly, those numbers start to, look unrealistic, in 10 years' time, for example. So we need to make sure that, those are being carefully monitored, making sure they're inflation proofing, and making sure it's going to provide the level of income that is sustainable and that is comfortable for you in retirement, because you haven't worked all these years and you haven't given 120% every day, in your example, for the last 10 years, only to find that your retirement is not enough and that your reality in retirement is going to be very difficult. You don't want that.
You don't. I mean, market volatility is often seen, Michelle, as the enemy of the long-term planner. It's often seen as the enemy, full stop. Nobody likes it. But for the average professional, how should we best be considering our savings, our retirement portfolio against the current global economic climate? Or am I over-egging this? Because is this just how things always are?
Volatility should be your friend, Tim, not your enemy.
Okay.
And this is what we talk to clients about all the time. And the reason for saying it should be your friend, because if you're putting money away and investing on a monthly basis, you want to be investing your money on arguably what I call the very worst day of the market, because you're going to be able to buy many more units on that particular day. And the idea is that for your entire journey of putting money away towards your retirement or your education fee planning or whatever it is that you're doing, your aim is that you're investing as much money as you can for as long as you can, because two phenomena at play. You've got the power of compound interest, but you also have the power of volatility. And the idea that you are investing your money on the worst day of the market every single month, in an ideal world, of course, it means that you're buying that many more units. And the hope is that when you reach your retirement goal, or you want to realize some of the money that you've been saving, that's the very best day in the market. And then, of course, that's where you would like to start drawing your income or start taking, cash out of your retirement savings. That would be an ideal world and an ideal picture situation, of course. But, that ability gives you great opportunity.
Historically, markets tend to move in a northwards direction, don't they? So over time, it's very hard to see that when you're looking at the market on a given day, I suppose. But it's a fair point. What about risk? Because we tend to confuse how much risk we want to take with what we can afford to take. So I'm wondering, when you talk to clients, how do you distinguish between those two kind of mentalities, if you like?
Risk for us is not about having one foot on a banana peel, for example. It's more about how much of that volatility you're willing to accept. And so when you're looking at portfolio construction and we're looking very carefully at a client's attitude to risk, and like you said, the amount of volatility that they're willing to accept, it's about how you construct the portfolio. So you have things that will underpin the portfolio, fixed income returns, bonds, various instruments that will underpin the portfolio and lessen those peaks and troughs.
Okay, let me give you, it's not a specific example, but it's a range of an example, if that makes any sense. It will in a minute. If you're 35 or 45 and it hits you that, hold on a minute, this path is not going to get me on target, how do you course correct? And what are the warning signs if you're not on track? Aside from, I haven't planned at all. What are the bells?
Absolutely.
Revealing?
It just goes back to something we mentioned a couple of minutes ago, and it is meeting with a financial professional. I can't stress how important that is. Even if you do it once a year, or if you're fortunate enough to, be able to do it a few times a year, then you have those natural review points. And you're not then leaving things too late where the mountain in front of you is so high. Being able to achieve what you'd like to in your retirement is just unrealistic. So you don't want to leave it that late. And, if you're 35, you've obviously got more time.
Yeah.
So the amount of money that you have to save on a monthly basis is not as much, for example, as if you had left it 10 years later and you're now starting this journey at 45. I like to say it's never too late, but you also need to be a realistic, view on things. If you are leaving it, the closer to 60/65 you get, the more you'd need to save in order to give yourself that comfortable retirement. And, there are various calculators out there that you can look at. Shortfall analysis basically is what you're aiming for. So, what would your standard of living be in retirement? What level of income would make that comfortable for you? And then you've got to rewind backwards. Okay, so in order to achieve that, how much do I need to save every month consistently? Bearing in mind inflation, so we need to inflation-proof it and make sure that those goals are realistic. What do I need to save on a monthly basis to achieve those goals I have for myself and my family?
I mean, the longer you leave it, the harder it is. What do you say to younger professionals? Well, what should younger professionals in the UAE be doing differently, maybe? I mean, I would guess lots of the people you talk to are older professionals, or am I wrong?
We're seeing a mix, Tim. We're seeing young professionals, who don't want to follow in their parents' footsteps.
Okay.
I hear this a lot, where they're saying, we have a lot of young career professionals who are saying, I'm funding my parents in retirement. I don't want to do that. I want to be able to be sustainable myself. So what do I need to do today in order to make that happen? 10 years ago, we weren't having those types of conversations as frequently as we are today. So that's something to bear in mind. So younger professionals are taking responsibility, being more proactive, and they also work in interesting roles and occupations, because you've got, the roles of influencers, a lot more are self-employed, a lot more are entrepreneurial. So it gives them, a different perspective, because if you're a business owner at a young age, you know how important, earning money is, and how you do have to plan for rainy days, and plan for your future, and look at your business model and where money is going to come from. So we're finding younger people are embracing saving generally early on. And we are finding that people in their mid-40s are suddenly sitting up and starting to pay attention and saying, okay, I haven't done anything yet, but it's not too late for me. I'd like to start. And those people generally, mid-career, and they've moved out here for various reasons, but they've got the opportunity to save, and they're definitely making it count.
Final question for you. We live in this kind of DIY, this age of DIY investing apps and AI-driven platforms, and it can all be done for you. In what scenarios is a professional advisor like you essential versus just nice to have?
Tim, all these apps and all these AIs and all of that, they're
You grinned when I said that.
they're nice to have,
Yeah.
and the idea is nice, of course, but it's all lovely and rosy until it isn't.
Right.
And there's nobody to double check. And we all know that AI is not foolproof and is not a perfect model. So working with an advisor, you can always double check what the advisor is saying against an AI tool, or against something as a second opinion. But I think there's a lot of place in the market, certainly, for good qualified financial advice, because, AI, whichever version of it you're using, doesn't have the qualifications. It's just scraping the internet for information, and not designing a bespoke solution for yourself and your family.
Yeah. Sometimes you need a Michelle to put the foot down,
You
tell you
do.
what to do. Yeah. I feel like I've been told. Michelle, it's been good to see you. Michelle Carby is a licensed financial consultant. She's the founder of the Michelle Carby practice. It's been good to see you.
Thank you, Tim. Thanks so much for having me, and thanks to everyone for listening.
Appreciate you coming in. If you enjoyed today's discussion, make sure you share it, leave us a comment as well.
Mira Business FM, where business comes to talk. Mira Business FM, where business comes to talk.
It's the Morning Drive. It's Mira Business FM. Dubai continuing to dominate global business conversations, but do people abroad fully understand the scale of what's happening here? That's a question. So here to talk about inaccurate reporting, plus the biggest takeaways from the briefing by Arabian Business, we'll come to that, which featured kind of major players from shaping the region's future, I suppose, is a leading regional business editor. He's from Arabian Business, and he's also the CEO Middle East editor. Justin Harper, good to see you again.
Tim, thanks for having me on the show, and thank you for that amazing introduction. I feel like I can leave now because it'll only go downhill after this.
Well, I think so, but let's try and go slightly in a northwards direction, just slightly. Just for anybody who missed a LinkedIn post, and this is where the first part of our conversation kind of comes from today, got a lot of attention, this post. What was the headline of the article? The Dubai Riviera has been reduced to a millionaire ghost town. This was a headline from the United Kingdom. There were pictures of an empty beach, some covered cars. Just give us the gist of what you were saying in response to this article.
Yeah, there's many posts, and we'll have to name names. The Daily Mail, classic for that kind of sensational journalism, and I've done it a couple of times, and I often ignore it because I sometimes think don't give them credit for it. And this one popped up about these cars covered in tarpaulin and these empty beaches, and already people were starting to comment and say, "Have you seen this? Have you seen this post?" The actual original article, and I said no. And when I looked at it, already I was like, "Hang on a minute, this is like summer. There's people not on the beaches, and this picture looks quite old, like really, you can tell from an old picture." Yeah. And these cars, like even where I live, there's cars covered all the time in tarpaulin, and so already it was like the images are really misleading. The headline again, and I was like, a Riviera. People were joking. It's like, I didn't know we lived in a Riviera, and it's just the language there. It's the language they use, and I just couldn't stop myself by coming on and really just, I guess the word is defending, but trying to be playful with it, because you can get angry about something and you could say, look, this is inaccurate, this is misleading, are you in Dubai, this kind of stuff there. And I just feel sometimes you can just, play around with it a little bit. You could be sarcastic back, and that sometimes has more impact.
I think it does. It's interesting because it goes back to the other article recently was 1 in 8 British expats have left the UAE, and you think, well, hold on a minute. The obvious answer to that is 7 in 8 are still here, is the first point to be made. But then it was a number, and you think, well, lots of tourists would have left. They were leaving anyway. It's very misleading, and it is kind of annoying. The covered car thing makes a lot of sense to cover your car if you go away for a month, doesn't it?
Exactly. It gets sandy, it gets dirty. I hardly ever wash my car because I don't see the point. By the time you've washed it and you've driven out and you've got to somewhere, it's covered in dust and sand anyway.
I love a bit of defeatism. That's the way I live my life.
Unless I'm trying to impress someone, but with my car, you can't really impress too many people. So yeah, it's just someone who it's by people who are out of touch. And I saw. This wasn't the Mail. This was another newspaper in the UK, and I was at an event. It was called Battle of the Sexes, a man against a woman at the Coca-Cola Arena. I think it was earlier this year before the conflict started, and I went along to it. I was like tennis. I watched it, and the man, I think it was Nick Kyrgios.
It was, yeah.
So he won, and then it became, after it was clear that he was going to win, then everyone relaxed and everyone had a bit of fun, and they kind of jostled with each other. I can't remember the name, the woman, the world number one, Seblanc. Do you know who I mean?
I do.
She's world number one. He's not world number one, but she was.
Yeah.
And it started off competitive to start, at the beginning. And then when it was clear that he'd overpowered her with his serve and everything, then it got a bit more relaxed and the crowd got involved. And it was really fun, actually. But it was the way the Times covered it was, just this is outrageous in this day and age, how awkward she felt and how the crowd were, kind of not impressed by what was going on. It's like, you were clearly not there. And they admitted in the article that they were watching it on the BBC and the transmission cut out, which was really great to admit that. But it's like, hang on a minute, you weren't there. You couldn't feel the atmosphere in the stadium. And you're admitting you're watching it via the BBC or Sky or somewhere, and you lost the coverage there. So you never actually saw the whole thing. And it's like, I can't help myself but say, as a journalist, as much as you can, you go and interview people face to face to see the whites of their eyes and listen to them and you know, and get a bit of colour.
You have to.
And then when you're covering a sporting event, surely you have to be at the sporting event to write about it there, to see it clearly. And then if you're talking about something that's kind of, you know, transcends sport, it's more of a culture event as well. And, you know, there is kind of like a philosophical debate about men playing women. It's like you really need to be there to start making those comments about the atmosphere of the crowd when you're not there. So I think we see it a lot, and it's sloppy journalism. And the Daily Mail has been, I think, throughout this crisis, just looking for these sensational stories. And like I said, sometimes I ignore them, but sometimes, like with that one there, I feel like I need to just say something, just to remind people that, hang on a minute, this is just not true, and this is farcical, and I don't think you're in the country or the city of Dubai, because you just wouldn't understand, you know, what the lifestyle is here.
I think that's the point, isn't it? But your other point there, that it's sloppy journalism, it's slobby, it's kind of lazy a lot of the time, and I think you're right. You have to be in front of somebody. You have to see the whites of the eyes. And that extends to being in a particular place. I suppose we often see international focus, media focus on the sort of glitz of Dubai. There's plenty of glitz. There's also plenty of more gritty stuff as well. Local media is probably more focused on, you know, structural shifts in infrastructure. It's a little bit more conservative. We look at AI and trade policy, all those kinds of things. So there's a disconnect. I just think maybe it's, you know, hatred, envy, all those things. They just sell better, don't they? Aren't they just better headlines?
Yeah. If you did a story saying Dubai is doing okay, it's getting back on its feet, which would be more accurate, it's not going to sell newspapers.
It's not sexy enough, is it?
It's not. So, but I think, you know, as journalists, we understand that, and the general public maybe are getting their head around it. They see something that's outrageous, but I think also the public wants something a bit interesting as well. That's the thing. So it's kind of a chicken and egg. The newspapers will always say, we're giving the public what they want. They want something sensational. They want something to tell their neighbours or their mate down the pub. You know, we're just giving them what they want. So yeah, that was kind of always one of the defences of tabloid journalism.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at how the international press covers the UAE versus what you do every day, how you report every day, where's the most significant information gap at the moment, do you think?
I think, you know, we'll get onto it, talking about what's happening in the business world.
Right.
There are people who've left. That's for sure. And we said that. There's expats who left, and that FT story, you know, what if they did 7 and 8 Dubai expats stay in Dubai? It's obviously looking for the negative story. Yeah. But I also think, you know, like that, I think we might have mentioned the tall poppy syndrome, you know, just when you get too big for your boots, you get chopped down. Yeah. But this is talking about individuals deciding to leave, and you can't stop an individual who feels for their safety or feels this isn't the right environment for me to leave. But the business community, obviously, it's a lot hard to just up sticks and leave. And we've seen far more stickiness in the business community with, you know, money coming in and staying within the UAE. Right. And I think that's something that when you see people saying companies are leaving, it's like, it takes a lot for a company to leave, and I'll question that. So the information gap for me is when you start to say businesses are leaving or capital is not coming in, because I think that's a much tougher thing to claim. Individuals, there might be lots of individuals and you can't track them, but when it comes to businesses and inflows of capital, you can't start saying that capital has stopped when you've got figures and you've got data to show that capital is still coming here.
Yeah, I mean, the UAE attracts and continues to attract plenty of international business attention, right? So does inaccurate reporting, does it move the needle on business sentiment at all, do you think? Or are the smart, you know, the global investors, do they look past those kind of mainstream headlines?
I don't think it's that clear cut that you could say, oh, most smart people see through the noise and they know what's going on in Dubai. I think the media obviously have an influence as well, and bosses, CEOs, founders who don't know the region maybe would read that kind of international press, and they possibly would think twice as well. That's the power of the media. Right. You'd hope that people are smart enough to say, I'm not just going to trust this one headline, I'm going to do some digging. But sometimes people will see something and it might influence their decision. So I think it's always down to the company and down to the individual, as in how much they trust the media.
As an editor, How do you combat misleading narratives, global narratives, in this case? Is the goal of CEO Middle East or the work you do at Arabian Business to act as a bridge for an international audience? Or is your sort of primary duty of care, if you like, that you give the local business community depth, the people that already know the truth? How do you see your role?
I think it's a bit of both. It's looking after our local readers, our local audience, but also understanding that ITP, which runs Arabian Business and CEO Middle East, has a more international audience, and we have people who come here from the region and say, we read Arabian Business, and they're in Asia, they're in Singapore, which is great to hear that. We don't obviously know how many, but if people are looking to come to this region, they will then start searching and looking for stories about the big companies here. So I think, we kind of have that duty of care to our local businesses, but also for foreign kind of readers and audience as well, to sort of give them an accurate picture. And this is the thing, it's about balance. Right. So there's negativity we can see, but also I think we have to be careful not being overly positive as well about this region.
Sure.
During a time of a crisis, admitting, yes, some businesses, some sectors have been struggling. So I think it's finding that balance between keeping the local community happy, but also understanding we have an international audience, not writing negative stories that don't exist, but also not being overly positive when that's not the case. Balance is, so it's a hard thing to do, but balance is always what we look for.
Well, balance is everything. The thing is, it gets kind of personal, doesn't it? I mean, you read these articles, these international kind of outside-looking in articles, which seem to come from. There seems to be very little basis of any fact, and it feels personal. It's an attack on where you live and the place that maybe you've come to really enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh. I've only been here for 4 years, and it's very hard to meet someone who's been here that short a period.
I was going to say, you're just a babe in arms.
Exactly. It's like an embryo. And so most people have I don't know about yourself, 20 plus years,
Yeah.
And so people have been here for a long haul, and they're far more loyal. And I feel like I've got far more loyalty to Dubai during this conflict. I'm defending it. But when I first came here, you couldn't say anything rude about traffic or Dubai or the UAE, because people had grown up here and they felt really vested in it. And I thought, maybe I will become like that. I think that's been accelerated during this crisis because of the negative coverage. I never thought I'd see myself being a defender of Dubai and coming on here and, doing the other kind of stuff I've done during the crisis as defend Dubai. But, you're right. You kind of feel you've got to put your side of the story across, and you're an ambassador for where you live. And it's like this, that's not fair.
That's exactly what you are. And it's quite right that you defend it. The other thing as well, by the way, you can always have a go at traffic. I'm sorry, but there are times. Let's move on to the briefing. I've been kind of following the latest edition. Is the best way to describe this that it highlights the movers and shakers in the region? Is that a reasonable way to describe it? How would you describe it?
Yeah, I mean, you can say movers and shakers. What it was we thought we wanted to do something as an event and with a theme of resilience, because we were seeing it was being talked about a lot. We were seeing companies struggling, but also having a game plan in place. And we thought we want to highlight the people who are resilient, and they could well be the movers and shakers. We had a real, we'll probably get onto a real mix of panels from F&B and chefs through to, Dubai airports and Majid Al Futtaim, some big names and some smaller names. But the theme was resilience, and that's what we thought we'd put on something and bring people together to talk about what happened during the crisis, how they dealt with it, what opportunities they saw they might see, and then going forward, their kind of advice for other people who may be experiencing this kind of turmoil for the first time.
Okay, so was there a recurring theme? What stood out? What's one thing that maybe people were talking about that maybe the rest of the world hasn't picked up on?
See, for me, when you ask that question, it could be one topic, as in having a strategy in place.
Right.
But also not just writing it down on paper, actually having people who know how to execute that strategy. We need to do this, this, and this, rather than have it, written on the wall or something. But for me, I think the key thing wasn't so much in the room, even though we had very strong panels and very strong speakers. It was outside in the networking and coffee bars, people coming together and talking and sharing stories, and I guess that's what happens a lot in seminars. You go for the speakers, which is great, but you also go to meet new people and to meet old contacts. And this was the first time, I think, we had a big business event like this for Arabian Business. We haven't done one for about 2 years. And so there was it was sold out. There was a real thirst for connection.
Okay. And beyond, real estate tends to get the headlines, right? At the moment, what were the most exciting kind of high growth conversations about?
We had
Were you kind of leaning in and
listening,
earwigging?
Yeah. That's what journalists do. Right?
I know. Yeah.
I think for me, it was one of the panels which was about business opportunity. So we made sure we got people who had done quite well during the conflict, and so that included Al Shire, the CEO of Al Shire, John Haddon, who looks after Primark. And Primark had been one of the success stories during the last few months, opening 3 stores, having huge huge sales, but also getting stuff on the shelves. So there's the customer facing, but then there's the behind the scenes logistics. So they're a huge success story. So we had John came on. We had Lewis Alsop from Alsop and Alsop, the founder, who talked about property and talked about, yes, it's a tough time and we're already seeing the bounce back. But he also launched a company during the crisis, the same way he launched Alsop and Alsop during COVID.
You'd have thought you'd learned.
He launched it to the global financial crisis.
Yeah,
you thought he would have thought.
There's history there, Lewis.
Yeah, exactly. Second time, but he learned so much doing it the first time during a crisis. He could launch a new company, and the company was relevant because it's ticketing. It's sports ticketing.
Okay.
Platform with the World Cup coming, he wanted to launch it and help people secure tickets, in the US, Mexico, and Canada. Okay. So there was him, and there was someone from DHL, a logistics company, who've also redrawn a lot of their trade routes, and maybe they've become more efficient as a way. It was really, about showing those opportunities. That stood out for me, how people actually were not talking about, in a crisis, it's a chance to show yourself and prove yourself. These were people who were walking the talk and who had done it. And that was great to have them on and talk about, how quick you have to react to these things.
Final question for you. Did you get the impression, was there a feeling of optimism still amongst business leaders, despite the regional uncertainty, the global uncertainty we've seen? How did you read the mood of people?
I think it was stop looking at this short-term blip, look at the long-term optimism. Yeah, the long-term trajectory is this, the UAE, Dubai has been doing so well for so long. It's a blip, but how can you forget the last 20 plus years of growth that we've seen? That will come back. We just had a little bit of a dip, which is sometimes a reset for some people, a pause, but whatever it is, we're still on that upward path. And I think that was it. Even with Paul Griffiths at Dubai airports, they've got big plans. It's like the long-term story continues, and I think that was a great soundbite, and that really was the overarching theme for everybody, whether they said it or not. Was we're here for the long term.
I always do this. I always say final question, and then I think of another thing I wanted to ask you. I want to go back to the original, this kind of starting point of the discussion, that article, and your reaction to that. If you had to write a headline for Dubai, say next year, the headline for 2027, hopefully the events of the last few days, come to fruition, and we see a peace deal signed. What would that headline be? Well, what's the major shift maybe that we're preparing for today going forwards? Because I've actually got one.
Oh, have you? Right. Okay.
I think so. It would just be, we're here, no, to global media or something like that.
How about Dubai bounces back, proving critics wrong?
I like that. That works. A good place to finish, I think. Justin Harper is a leading regional business editor.
Amazing.
Wrote that for you. From Arabian Business, he's also the editor of CEO Middle East. Appreciate you coming in. Thanks.
Tim, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
As always, don't forget to like, subscribe for more interviews like this from Mira Business FM.
Mira Business FM, your daily guide to the markets, money, and more. Mira Business FM, where business comes to talk.
It's the Morning Drive, real estate next. And if you've been looking to buy off-plan property in Dubai recently, you're very likely to have encountered the following acronym, EOI, or Expression of Interest. And what it's supposed to be is your ticket to the front of the line. But for a lot of people, it turns into maybe a waiting game for a refund, and some frustration that goes along with waiting for refunds as well. So is it a legitimate tool for securing your dream home, or is it just a sophisticated way for developers to gauge market hype? There's a question. We'll investigate the answer with AJ Menon, who is the CEO of Lux Vista Real Estate. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Tim.
Good morning. Let's start with the basics, AJ. What is an EOI, and why has it become like the default gatekeeper for new project launches?
EOI is expression of interest.
Right.
Right. And basically it is nothing but submitting a few documents about explaining who you are, what you are, which unit you like, what are your preferences. And that you need to submit to the developer along with a payment, which could be a check, payment link where you can use your credit card and add points.
Okay.
Or bank transfer.
Okay.
It does not mean that you are guaranteed an option, that you are not guaranteed an allocation. It is not an SPA. It is not a booking. It's nothing. It's just pay it and then wait for your turn.
Okay, so it doesn't mean you're going to even get a unit.
No.
And yet you have to pay how much?
It can go from 50,000 dirhams all the way to 10% of the project value, the unit value.
Okay, so why is it needed? What are the benefits to the investors?
See, the idea is you get priority access. You are in the game or you're not in the game.
Okay.
That's the basic of it. And when you say you are in the game, is basically you get pre-launch prices, you get access to premium units, the ones with the best views, and you also are in priority line.
Right. Okay. So that's kind of a developer narrative, I suppose. Yeah. Right. So, but if you look behind the curtain there, developers are holding all the cards, aren't they?
Yes. And that is the secret that most people don't understand.
Right.
See, the thing is, for the developer, it is a real-time marketing intel, right?
Okay. Well, that makes sense. Okay.
So
the marketing intel that you're paying for.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
So they understand which units are preferred, which views are preferred, right. What floor plan is better, because every developer, every project has, for one bedroom, they might have 2 or 3 different floor plans. So they get an understanding of, okay, this is what the people like.
Okay, so if you're launching the first phase of a development, for example, it would influence the next
phases. Yes,
right. Okay, then what else does it offer developers?
Okay, then it's they can also price it slightly higher. So they also understand how they have priced it. So for example, at the EOI stage, if they receive 3,000 EOIs for just 500 units of inventory, that means they can kind of gauge whether it is fairly priced or underpriced.
Right.
And normally what happens is like they normally give a price range during the EOI stage. The brochures are not out. The brochures are not out at this moment. It's the general idea is they will give you some kind of allocation. They will give you, this is the price range for 1 bedroom to 2 bedroom to 3 bedroom. And they give a price range. It's like it could start from 1 million all the way to 1.3 million.
Okay. So this literally is just to be in the game.
In the game, yeah.
Right. So it's like it's a fee to be in the game, but it's an assurance of nothing. Aside from you will get a refund. Nobody's saying the money's been taken. There is a refund, but it's down the road at some point.
But imagine a guy who's paid 500,000 dirhams as EOI amount for the Palm Villa. He's not assured a unit, and he doesn't get the unit, and he's a frustrated rich guy.
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. So there's an element of marketing in this as well, I suppose.
Definitely, it's free marketing for them. So what you mentioned, what are the benefits of developers? Obviously, the price optimization.
Yeah.
So now, if they say a one bedroom is say from 1 to 1.2 million, if it is oversubscribed, he can easily start from 1.2 million.
Well, this is the thing. I was going to say, you mentioned a figure there. So if a developer sees 3,000 expressions of interest for 500 units, how quickly might that translate into a price hike?
Immediately.
For the official law? I mean, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Right, okay. So are we as investors effectively helping developers price up? We're pricing ourselves out of a potential purchase in some ways.
That is the double-edged sword that I'm talking about.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
I'm with you.
But the thing is, if you look at it, the investors, there are some projects that you should get into early.
Right.
Yeah, and if you don't submit the EOI, you are out of the race right from the beginning. Here you have at least a 50-50 chance.
Okay.
And you play it right, there are more chances to get it. I'll come back to that later.
Okay. So how much of the fear of missing out that we see during launch days is organic, and how much is manufactured by the developer so that you create kind of a scarcity that forces brokers and buyers to be like, no, I've got to be in. You kind of commit blindly.
Yeah, it's basically a combination of both. So what happens is like when the developer starts seeing a lot more EOIs, they're going to be talking about that to the brokers. So that brokers, when they talk to their clients, they just amplify it.
Right.
So when the developer says, okay, we've got 200 units, now we already have 300 units. The broker, by the time he talks to the client, it's already 400 units.
Yeah.
Then another broker comes, it's going to be 600 units. So basically, there's a lot of units out there. I mean, a lot of EOIs received for only 200 units. So it just goes, oh my God, FOMO. And FOMO decisions are never good.
No, they're emotional decisions, aren't they?
They're exactly emotional decisions. And the only rationale behind it is like, oh, there's a lot of people investing in it, or there's a lot of people who have expressed interest in it. So maybe it's a good one. So I should get in.
Yeah. Okay. What are the negative sides of EOIs for investors?
Many of the investors are trying to get in, hoping for the pre-launch prices, the hoping for a fairly undervalued price.
Right.
But the same EOIs are being used to optimize prices for the developer, so they can launch it at higher price. The next phase will come immediately with even more higher prices. So it is what it is. And forget FOMO. Then there is another aspect of allocation, unit allocation.
Okay.
So the unit allocation is a chaos. So the original intention was that once they know the EOIs, once they know it, they can easily allocate it first come first serve kind of a thing. But that never happens in this market. There's a lot more things that go behind the scenes.
Okay. What about refunds? How long does it take to get a refund? I mean, if you've spent 500,000 dirhams and you don't get, you're right. That's a very depressed rich man, I suppose, really. But how long does it take to get money?
It could take weeks. It could take months. But you will definitely get it back. The money is refundable for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to say that people are taking money. It just.
But see, they should understand: is it worth that heartache?
Yeah.
Or do you want to get that money in? Do you want to get that EOI? Wait for the thing, knowing fully well that you might not get a unit, because there are some projects which we know for 200 units they've already received 1,000 units and they're still collecting expression of interest.
Yeah.
What is the point? The whole project has only less than 1,350 units. So you are in line, but you don't get in the first launch. Then you wait for the next one. So you might be waiting for at least 6 to 7 months just for the launches to happen. And then even after all these launches, obviously the price goes up. And it is you don't know the full price yet, because during the EOI phase, you just know the price range, but you do not know what the payment plan is. What is the breakup of the payment plan? It could be 60 or 50-50 or whatever it is. How is that initial 50 going to be phased? You have no idea.
Well, yeah, but you don't know the actual price. You don't know what service charges
yes.
might be applied either.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So there's no guaranteed allocation, no actual knowledge of the price. So it's a free loan, isn't it?
It's as good as that.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, but we also understand that for some certain projects, getting into the first phase, first launch, can make or break an investment. People have made a lot of money in master communities when they've come into the first unit with the first prices.
Sure. Okay. So it's part of the process,
Yes.
the game, the system. Okay. So we see investors, they submit EOs, you don't know final prices, you don't know service charges, you don't know payment plans. What are the dangers of committing capital before you see sort of the full picture? And also, this is normal.
This is normal. And the thing is that the only danger which I see is you are going to be committing some money for some time.
Yeah.
Obviously, you will get the refund, but you are not sure if you're going to get the unit. You're not sure if you're able to get the unit that you like. Then also, you don't know what the final price is. So when the brochures come in, when the actual project is launched, then suddenly you understand that, yes, I cannot do this. I cannot go with this payment plan. Or it doesn't really make sense for me.
But that's surely it's not great for retail investors. They're not going to be at the top of the priority list. I mean, not least of which is the amount of money. But this is very much an institutional play, I suppose.
100%. See, and that is the thing. This is not a DIY project. They have to work with experienced consultants in this one because there's a lot of tricks behind the whole thing to make you come right on top of the list, or to at least give you a fighting chance. Because what happens, like from the developer side, they have bulk investors, people who take up the full floors, 4-5 units, and those kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So they are given top priority, as they must be. Then they give priority to the agencies or consultants who have a good relationship with them. They've sold many of their units. They will help them sell multiple units even in the future. So as a retail investor, you're just coming for one unit, you are definitely not on your priority list.
Okay, so it's a bit of a long shot then, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So who benefits from EOIs? Who benefits more? I mean,
see, who benefits? It could be both, but who benefits more is definitely the developers.
Yeah.
Right. So if you are able to get into that first pre-launch prices, you got the best unit and you got the unit allocated, yes, you are a winner as an investor. But as a developer, the whole EOI game is for them.
Yeah.
So they're getting a lot of money. They're getting the whole market intelligence, not for just this project. They understand what they have to launch next time also.
Okay, so let's exclude the bulk buyers, if you like, and the favoured agents, and just take me as a retail investor. How do you play the game effectively without getting burned? Because as you said a couple of times, there are ways of navigating, there are tricks and everything else. Because this is a system kind of stacked against individuals. How do you play the game?
I'll give you one of my tricks, but not everything. Yeah.
I know you won't give me all your tricks, but what do you need to think about?
So as an agent or as a consultant, what we normally try to do is we go with multiple investors, individual investors, say that, you know what, I'm actually collecting. I mean, I already have 3 or 5 people who are interested in this project.
Right.
So the more I have, so I just go and submit it as one submission.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So I become by default a bulk investor.
Right. Okay. Oh, I understand. And then for that, you need to talk to a professional.
Yeah.
See, that would make sense because that's. I mean, you would be doing that. I would guess with a lot of.
And there's also another thing called underwriting a building. So this is normally done by the agencies. What they do is they talk to the developer. They say, okay, you know what, we'll give you a check. We will take 8 units. And it's under them now.
Right.
So now as individual agency, obviously I'm going to get, because I'm a bulk investor now, and I will just give it to them at the best prices. Obviously, it might definitely not be the pre-launch price. It might be something less than what the developer is charging, but slightly more if you actually had got directly from the if you're a retail investor.
Okay. Expressions of interest. It sounds so business.
It's very dicey. 60 to 70% of the projects in Dubai doesn't need a like EOI, but they still make out to, they make that hype. They say you have to submit an expression of interest. But some of the projects, as experienced consultant, I understand absolutely not needed. Just wait it out. It will come back to the market.
Right. So this is pre-launch phase. This is always, this is the hype phase before the brochures are out, and you could effectively, as a retail investor, walk into the show house and show home and okay. So EOIs are needed?
See, EOIs definitely is not bad or good. If it is a genuine real estate developer, if they have enough products, if it is done very well, EOIs are good for both people. If it's a balanced market, yes, it's great for the investor, it's great for the developer.
You always advise working with an experienced consultant, and I understand why. Of course, this is your business. Rather than going direct, as local knowledge is invaluable. But what leverage does an agency have that an individual investor just can't replicate?
We can give them multiple business.
Right.
To the developer. Right. Obviously, the developers have, we are the unpaid staff of employees of the developers. So as an agency, as a consultant, you only get paid if a sale happens. So there's nothing that the developer doesn't lose anything by working with us. And if they are actually going to give priority to us, we are going to get more business for them. As far as the individual investor is concerned, it doesn't really matter to them. If there's only one unit, will they give it to me or will they give it to you? Is anybody's guess.
Okay. It's always fascinating talking to you, AJ. You always come in with a thought-provoking topic. And I always sit here and I think, I've got to ask this. Let me ask you this. Something like 60 to 70% of projects. What was the figure you said where an EOI isn't necessary?
Around 60-70%.
60-70%, right.
Yeah.
How should an investor decide which projects are worth sort of the EOI risk, for want of a better phrase, and which ones are just...
Talk to 2 to 3 consultants,
Really?
Yes. That's only way. Because as a normal individual investor, see, most of the people buying a project here it's not for business. It's either to buy for themselves, or if at all, yes, they might buy 1 or 2 extra units as is it for reselling or for rentals? Yes, they might do that, but they do not know all the nuances, to understand what is a good investment, what can make money, what can resell, what can be a good rental unit. For that, they definitely need to speak to somebody. So if a certain project comes in, everybody with a pulse will get an email, will get a call, will get an SMS from all the brokers all over the country. So when you see one particular project being bombarded to you by 5-6 people, choose a couple of guys, couple of consultants, follow their social media, and then ask them about this particular project, and see what they are coming up. If 2 people are coming up with the same, yes, it is a good project, then it is a good project.
Okay. Do you think we need a regulatory shift, maybe to standardize the EOI process, or is that kind of chaotic launch day thing, is that just part of, a high growth market, the Dubai market? The
intention is good, but however, the reality is always different. The intention was always, to have a smooth allocation of the units. But when the market is so oversubscribed, oversubscription is the word. For 500 units, if you're getting 3,000 EOIs, what can the developer do? They should at least stop after collecting 1,000 EOIs. That could be done.
Yeah, that would seem reasonable.
Yeah, because you can expect some cancellations, you can expect some dropouts and whatnot.
Sure.
So maybe double the units, yes, you can. But why go to that 3 times or 5 times or 6 times collecting the EOIs? And knowing fully well that they cannot allocate the unit to this guy. And it will be just a matter of, collecting the money, refunding the money. It's a lot of paperwork, a lot of waiting game. Why do you need that?
So the best advice you could give is be an informed investor.
Correct.
Really? Okay.
And also one more thing, basically. See, there is, just recently there was a launch. The hype or the catch was basically your 1-bedroom unit was starting at 1 million. And that probably they might have total 10 units like this. Out of 200 units, there will be 10 units of 1 million.
For sure.
Yeah. And then the rest is all 1.1, 1.2, it can go all the way.
Yeah.
So, but if you're submitting an EOI for a 1.2 million for that particular unit, it is not a great investment. So,
yeah, it's a fair point, actually. You can see why, I mean, that's an obvious marketing sales tactic, isn't it? That it's the buyer beware thing, as always. Fascinating. I didn't think there was so much to learn about EOIs, but there is. AJ Menon is the CEO of Lux Vista Real Estate in Dubai. I always kind of think what you've forgotten about real estate probably isn't worth knowing, to be honest. But there you are. Good to see you, AJ. Thank you.
Likewise, thank you.
All of our interviews are available at Mira Business FM.
Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.
This is the Morning Drive at Mira Business FM. For over a century, the global art markets axis has kind of revolved around London, Paris, and New York, really. And those are the cities where taste was kind of dictated, auctions were dominated, and historic collections were born. Today, the map of what's known as alternative assets and fine art has been fundamentally redrawn. The UAE and Dubai in particular is rapidly becoming one of the world's biggest magnets for artists and collectors and global galleries. Jean-David Malat is the founder of the J.D. Malat Gallery in London and Dubai. He was born in Paris, trained at Sotheby's. He spent more than 20 years discovering emerging artists and advising elite collectors worldwide. And he is here. J.D., it's good to meet you.
Hello.
Good to have you
for having me on your show today.
You're very welcome. It's good to have you here because we don't get a chance to talk about this kind of topic. I can't remember when we've ever talked about art, to be honest. So I'm kind of keen to know more about you. I know you've got a Made in the UAE initiative at the moment, so I want to talk about that. Mm-hmm. First of all, though, you've operated at the highest echelons of the European art scene. But when was it that you thought, I have got to establish a permanent base in Dubai? When did that hit you?
I came back to Dubai in 2024.
Okay.
After many years, I decided to visit Dubai again because I was busy with my life and with the gallery in London and doing international art fair. And a lot of my friends moved to Dubai. A lot of my collectors moved to Dubai. Okay. So I went there and I saw the life in Dubai. And everywhere I was going, I was meeting people that I knew from all over the world, and especially from London. So I really thought I really need to do something in Dubai, in the region. And I find people so welcoming, like a different vibe and mentality that you have in London now. So start looking for some different location, which was not so easy. I look at different area in Dubai, and I found this amazing space that I have in Dubai downtown on the boulevard. I took 3 units and I make a large gallery on 1 floor. Very nice, very simple, high ceiling. It's beautiful. And I really, really love the vibe and the feeling of having a gallery in Dubai.
And you're right, in the new center of the city. What is it about Dubai that's becoming, or helping it to become, such a force in the global art world? Because that really is starting to happen.
It's Dubai and the region. We're doing, like in last November, we did Abu Dhabi Art Fair, which was very good for us. We did Art Dubai this year, which was, they moved the date. It was supposed to be in April, but because of the event, they moved it in May. And we were so surprised how amazing it was. It was super well visited. I think they had more than 25,000 visitors this year. We did very well in terms of business with people who are based here in Dubai. So it was very, I didn't expect that. And that proves that Dubai is strong and the art market is really growing.
Do you think Dubai is benefiting from uncertainty in the traditional capitals of London, Paris, and New York?
Yeah, I mean, Dubai is getting there, like it's getting there in terms of art. The major auction houses are now in Dubai. Some important galleries are coming to Dubai. In November, Freeze Abu Dhabi is taking place. So it's you have many events that now make Dubai an important art place.
Yeah, and also, it's a variety of events as well.
A variety of events. So we're trying to be very active. We're very active with the gallery since we open. Basically, I'm almost opening a new show every month, which is quite heavy. But I think it's important also to be alive and to give the possibility to artists to show their art.
Sure, I mean, it's time, isn't it? Because this was something, I mean, we said this before you came on air, but this is something that was missing from Dubai.
Yeah, many people told me that. Many people are saying that they're super happy that now JD Mala Gallery is in Dubai. In 1 year, I think we did with the team an extraordinary job because the gallery is quite well known and well visited. Tonight we have the opening of Made in UAE, and I just had a look at the guest list this morning, and it looks quite impressive. So yes, I think it was missing, and it's important to have more and more gallery coming to Dubai, and people they want that, they need this also.
No, I know what you mean. It's intangible as to why it's there, but it is necessary.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let's look at the financial side of the gallery world, if we can, for a moment. Fine art is much more than an aesthetic luxury, right? It's a serious alternative asset class.
It is.
Your classic training at Sotheby's gives you a unique kind of institutional perspective, I think, that lots of gallery owners maybe don't have. How has the underwriting process for valuing contemporary art changed now that institutional funds and private family offices treat art in the way that they do, like equity?
Yeah, they collect art, they invest in art, they invest on. So I'm dealing with young upcoming artists, but I'm always also dealing with some estates. I represent the estate of Ed Moses, which was an important American artist, and we're doing mostly primary market, but it's true on the side we also do some secondary market, which secondary market is quite strong now. And for yes, for many people, it's an investment because you buy art because you love it, because it looks good in your living room or in your house, but also it's an investment. It's not just buying something to decorate your.
No, it's not. I mean, it's a lot more than decoration. There's been a multi-billion-dollar shift in asset capital allocation. High net worth individuals look at contemporary art as a hedge, I suppose, against inflation, against volatility in the market. For a high net worth investor looking to maybe put part of their portfolio, I don't know, 5 to 10%, whatever it is, into fine art for the first time, what are the primary risks? Because you've got to look at things like storage and security and provenance and market illiquidity, I guess.
No, there is very little risk. I mean, when you buy primary market, if you have the fund to buy art, there is very little risk. I always say it's an investment, but also you need to like what you buy. You need to feel.
There's a feel, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not just an investment. You know, and most of my collectors are like that. You know, they have real feeling. We have a real discussion. We'll talk. It's a real exchange. On top of an investment. So of course they invest. Some of my collector they keep their artworks in their house, or some of them put them in storage and then they exchange, and then sometimes they want to sell and buy something else. So, but it grow up in value. So which they feel comfortable.
You mentioned it. I mentioned it as well. Made in the UAE is a contemporary arts initiative. You're looking at local emerging talent, I believe, if I'm right in saying this, who live in Dubai.
Yes.
Yeah. So you've got a curated selection of artists. Why was it important to do that now?
Alors, this is an initiative I had when I opened the gallery. Okay. I wanted to connect with artists in the region. Because as a gallerist, as an art dealer, you're always looking for a new artist. Someone that you could work with internationally, and to discover artists. I mean, that way was amazing because we received more than 300 applications. So I saw many different artists. I saw very good works, very talented artists are based here in the region, and also it was important to be involved here with the region and made in UAE. And you know, you're part of the scene, and also you give a platform, you give a chance to some artists that if an initiative like that is not happening, they cannot really show their work in a proper gallery.
Well, there are limited opportunities out there. I mean, it'd be exciting if you came to me and said, "Tim, I really like."
It's amazing, you know. The feeling, you know, you please an artist, you give them a chance, and after, you work with them in the future or not, but maybe another gallery will work with them, or it's a good step for them. We select 7 artists, Emirati, completely different nationality, Russian, based in the UAE. So the project was to take artists that live and work here in the region.
And the pieces have all been created
here. And we accelerate after the recent event to push also UAE on the international scene, because I think it's important also for all the people that follow the gallery that see that there is some real talent here in Dubai and in this region. And the show is beautiful. I curate the show on Tuesday night. We curate during the night, and now it's there. It's really nice.
And you're happy with what you've curated?
Yeah, because it's not an happy show to curate. It's 7 different artists, and I'm not used to that. I'm mostly dealing with 1 or 2 artists at the same time. So 7 artists completely different all together, but there is a real it's nice. There is you can feel the vibe, the atmosphere of all these pieces together. They talk to each other. It's really beautiful.
So it works together, but this is not theme. The only theme is that it's made in the UAE.
Yeah, made
but
in
it is
UAE. completely free of mind. They could do anything they want, but something that's been made here. So we have photography, we have paintings, we have installation, sculpture. No, it's really, I hope people who are based here in Dubai can come and visit that show and give a push to these artists to be more well-known through social media, and also the show is for sale, of course.
Sure.
So,
no, that's fair. What is it about artists in the UAE? Because this is it's still a nascent scene. It's a young scene, isn't it? The art scene.
The art scene is a young. You mean young collector?
No, I mean as in the whole scene, the age of the scene.
The age of the scene is young. No,
it's very young. But what is it about more artists choosing to stay here, to build careers here, do you think?
I think it's quality of life. They can have a nice studio, maybe also less expensive than to live in a big capital like London or New York. You know, they have. I think the quality of life is here, and also I think they have I would say maybe more chance to make it here.
Yeah.
In London or New York, you're a bit lost in the middle of many artists.
Yeah.
And I think here, if you know how to do it, maybe you have more chance to sell and to make it.
And I guess from your point of view as well, you have an opportunity to find maybe the hidden gem.
Yes, exactly.
Would otherwise not.
Exactly, and not only with the one that's been selected.
Yeah.
Because we were with a judge panel, so I couldn't decide on. So we all decide together. But I found some really interesting artists based in the region, Emirati artists also, which I really want to work with also in the future with some Emirati artists. So I'm looking deeply at that.
Okay. I mean, you spent, over 2 decades discovering artists, some artists who have gone on to achieve global acclaim. Yes. I think that's fair to say. The relationship between is gallerist a word? Would you be a gallerist?
Yeah, I would say gallerist. I'm more gallerist than an art dealer. I used to be art dealer. I used to do more gallerist.
I know. I was looking for the right way to describe you.
You can say gallerist. I like this word. It's an old word that it's nice.
Well, if it's not a word, it should be a word. So we'll make it a word. Yeah. But the relationship between a gallerist and an artist, that's a complex business partnership, I think, in many ways.
Yeah, but it's beautiful because you have you establish a very friendly relationship with your artist. It's you discussing a project. I'm mostly friend with all of my artists.
Well, you're like a gatekeeper for the career, because artists now can just go to Instagram or social media, but to choose to be with a gallerist, for example, that's a different career trajectory.
Yes, I think it's important for an artist today to have a gallery.
Yeah,
because a gallery make the job of an artist on putting a beautiful show together. On doing the promotion, the installation, and for also people to come and visit the show. So, of course, an artist can sell directly on Instagram, but then it's become more like a commerce. It's more.
No,
like,
I know. No,
okay, I paint. I said no. The gallery make a show. We keep the show for quite a few weeks.
Yeah.
People come and visit the show. There is a real story. We explain. People can find themselves in. It's yeah.
No, I get that, and again, it goes back to the feel. Instagram has always confused me as a photographic medium. That kind of 2-inch square picture. I never really understood that, but everybody.
I think what do I know? I think it works, and it's important for artists today to be on social media.
Sure.
And after, if some artists sell directly on social media to their collector, good for them. You know, I mean, my artists, they don't do that. They go through me. You know, as we have.
And people can then appreciate.
Yeah, people appreciate.
Yeah.
You know, I think so.
Oh, okay. Can an artist really achieve museum level legacy and sustainable kind of secondary auction value without the backing of an infrastructure like yours? You know, having a primary gallery. Is that ultimately the best career move for an artist as they grow?
Yeah, an artist, to build an higher career of an artist, it's, you go step by step. So you building the interest of the collector with an artist, with a show, and then after, museum, institution, get interested into your artist. But I'm also pushing a lot on some of our artists to get into a museum and institution.
Okay.
To get
as a trajectory, as like a career path. It's part of it's an established way, but it seems
it's important.
Yeah.
It's not an easy way, because but it's important for an artist. I try to give some museum show to some of my artists. Like now, I have a project with one of my artists named Conrad John Godley, the Swiss German artist, with a very important museum show in October. So this is something that when you do that for an artist, the artist is quite happy and it stay with you.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. Let's talk about the people who buy. The wealth transfer happening across the Gulf now means that younger, tech-savvy entrepreneurs, for example, the family office heirs are entering the market. Their expectations around accessibility and technology and transparency are very different to the traditional art collectors that I suppose you've dealt with for many years. Are younger collectors changing the kinds of art that is popular, that really succeeds?
Yes.
You think?
Yes. Of course. We have a young collector, family office. I mean, we local. We really sell art to. It's very different. Young collector. Yes, we start working, and more since we are in Dubai, we have more and more young collector, people who never bought art before, but they saw the gallery coming here, they like the program, they come again, they don't like that show, they come again to another show, they like that show, they buy one piece. And I think when you start collecting art, you buy one work, two works, three works, and then, then also after you move on to other gallery, you go and see around.
And your taste develops.
Your taste develop, and but we met a lot of new collector like that. I have a story with one of my collectors that I met in London maybe 7-8 years ago. He was just walking into my London gallery. He bought one work, two works, three works, and I think now he's got maybe 200 artworks. So
bought from you?
Yeah, from me and from other gallery. But I give him the taste and the desire to buy art.
There's a lifelong client.
So this is it's a good achievement as a gallerist. That's and also when they believe on you, when they believe on your taste and on your artist. This is what makes me very happy.
Let me ask you just, we're a little bit over time, but I'll run over time ever so slightly. One more question. Are you noticing a shift in what Dubai collectors are buying from when you first visited to where you are now? Is there a preference for Middle Eastern pieces, storied pieces maybe, or is it more Western contemporary? What's the...
No, there is no, because so far we've been presenting a very international program with artists from Japan, Africa, Switzerland, Spain, and it's been super well received. And we so no, it's a bit.
So
I think people buy what they like.
It matches the population.
There is no trend.
Really.
I mean, I won't say there is like
Right.
after there is trend of some artists that needs to be collected or not, but
Is that good advice? Just buy what you like.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think what yeah.
Yeah,
I think what you like, what you feel, because art it's a moment. You're just buying a moment of the artist. It's not just a painting. It's so what you like, and also I think to know also the story.
Yeah,
I think that's important.
yeah.
And also when you know that,
And how it feels.
you always feel.
Yeah.
And also I think when you have nice art in your environment, in your office or in your house, you like talking about it, with your guest or with you're proud. So
Yeah,
I think it's and when you buy art, it needs to be a special moment. You remember that moment from where you bought it, why you bought it, who you met.
It becomes a life decision, doesn't it?
It's a story.
Something you live with.
You create a story.
I have lots of questions that I wanted to ask you. We don't have time, so I'm hoping, JD, you'll come back and join us again.
With pleasure. Thank you so
all
much.
All the best with Made in the UAE
Thank you.
tonight
Thank you.
as well. Jean-David Malat is the founder of the JD Malat Gallery here in Dubai. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.
This is the morning drive from Mira Business FM. As summer travel picks up, legal experts are warning that UAE residents have to understand travel bans if very often they're linked to unpaid debts, court cases, financial disputes, that kind of thing. So today, on the fine print, Raymond Kiswani is a partner at Davidson & Company, joining us on the line to explain the legal risks and the stuff that all UAE residents should know before heading to the airport. Raymond, welcome. Good to see you.
Good morning. How's everything?
Not bad. Good to have you on. Can we just start with the basics? In the current UAE legal climate, how common are travel bans for everyday kind of financial disputes? And how do most residents find out if they have one? I guess it's usually the hard way for many.
Yeah, so I mean, kind of unpacking that, I think the overwhelming trigger for what will result in a travel ban kind of falls into a few different pillars. I think primarily it is some sort of a financial dispute. Things like unpaid bank loans, bounced checks is a huge one, credit card debts that may have escalated to court proceedings. A second one could be some form of a civil litigation against an individual or where the case has been filed against a person and the travel ban has been put in as a precautionary measure. You could, slightly less common are things related to employment, employees, employers, where there's an unresolved case before the ministry. So it is, I mean, really what connects all of these is that there's an underlying issue, generally financial in nature, and it doesn't really have to be tied to a large amount. So it's not necessarily the amount is large. It could literally be a couple of thousand dirhams. But if something is ignored and has festered and has escalated through the system, that may result eventually in a travel ban.
I mean,
sorry, go ahead.
No, go on. So, keep going.
Just like the other part of your question is I mean, there are a number of ways to be able to check how if you have a travel ban or already in place, and we can certainly get into that. But unfortunately, a lot of the times it's being found out when you are at the airport trying to board a flight to either go on your vacation or to a business trip of some sorts.
Well, this is the thing. It's not something that just affects, corporate high flyers, large fraud cases. It can be literally a couple of thousand dirhams. And as you say, something festers and develops and grows, etc. Recent shifts in UAE legislation, Raymond, or relatively recent shifts, decriminalisation of certain bounce checks. Is the link between a bounce check and a travel ban still as direct as it was not that long ago, a few years ago?
Yeah, so I think this is a huge misconception that's still kind of around. So previously, before 2022, bounce checks amount to both a civil claim, meaning something around money, and a criminal claim. So, and you would find yourself involved in two of those. In 2022, there was much welcomed legislation that came in to effectively decriminalize a bounce check. So it is no longer a criminal, a crime that has been committed if a check bounces. So we're not talking about kind of either fines that the criminal court may impose on you, or if it's a bit more serious, then there could be jail time and possible deportation. But the civil element still is there, and it is it's quite an easy case, if you will, because it's almost a strict liability. Because so long as you are you issued the check, you signed the check, and there was insufficient funds in your account when the date of the check came due, then effectively you are liable for that amount. You haven't resolved it, the person can take it to court and file a claim against you for that amount, and you would have a civil court judgment against you, which again, if unresolved, can find its way to it being a travel ban. So that's why I say that while the criminal aspect of a bounce check has been removed, the civil aspect is still there and can result in a travel ban, again, if it's something that has festered over time.
Yeah, so there's no minimum debt amount that triggers an automatic travel ban, is there?
No, I mean, literally, the amount in question is not the prompt as to whether a travel ban will or will not be issued. So whether it's 1,000 dirhams or 100,000 dirhams or 1,000,000 dirhams, that's not really a question here. It's whether there is an underlying debt, either it being issued as a precautionary measure through the courts, or it has already gone through the process and it is effectively in an enforcement stage against you. So, again, it can be something, a bit silly, unfortunately, in terms of its amount. But if it's ignored and has kind of festered to that level, you'll find yourself, unfortunately, with a travel ban.
Sure, it's symptomatic of potentially other conditions, I guess. Beyond commercial debt, you often see bans linked to civil cases like family law disputes or maybe landlord-tenant disagreements, those kinds of things. How does a court decide that a ban is a necessary measure to prevent a party from fleeing?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a number of ways that how a travel ban is issued. So I think the important thing is kind of the process. Right? So it can be in a very straightforward case, particularly again, like things that we were speaking about. For example, a bounce check. There's a very clear financial obligation that hasn't been owed, and a creditor files an application with the court. You can have a travel ban being issued fairly quickly in those because you're effectively showing that there's a clear debt that is owed, it has not been paid, and there's the possibility of dissipation of assets, meaning the person can be able to leave the country. So that's where a travel ban could be issued. And it's also possible to have travel bans being issued against the general manager or directors of a company that has either unpaid regulatory fines or has creditors after it that have unpaid loans, etc. And you might find the general manager or the top directors being linked to a travel ban on behalf of the company as well.
Okay, so you can have a travel ban without knowing that you have a travel ban. So if you head to the airport, you may have a nagging suspicion, and there's usually some kind of precursor, of course, that you may have a suspicion that you have a legacy dispute of some kind. What can you actually do to verify your kind of status, if for want of a better word?
Yeah, so I mean, there is a fairly straightforward manner. There is there's an app that you can have on your phone, which is the citizenship and the Federal Authority for Identity, Citizenship, etc. There's an app where you can check your entry and residency status through it. You can also head to the individual court systems, for example, Dubai courts, and check on their portal by entering either your Emirates ID or your passport number to see if there's any cases against you. I would certainly recommend doing that, certainly if you're planning to travel. Obviously, we are kind of heading into that time where schools are going to be out and most people are going to be taking some vacation time. So do this a couple of weeks before your intended departure date, so you can have time to be able to see if there is a ban, try to be able to see how you can work something out if there is something, or be able to get some legal advice. I think the really important thing is to not let things fester to the point where they get to a travel ban issue. Don't ignore things that have kind of festered in terms of unpaid debts, unpaid credit cards, business loans, etc. Don't ignore things that have come from a law firm or a bank, such as legal notices, etc., because that's how things can escalate, and they can escalate rather quickly if ignored.
Okay, so no necessity for a formal legal representative to query the system. What happens if you are stopped at the airport? Let's say you get there, find out you have a ban. What are the immediate kind of practical steps, Raymond?
Yeah, I mean, it can be a fairly distressing situation, obviously, because you would get to the airport and you're either, if you're going through the smart gates or you have gone up to see one of the immigration officers, there would be a flag on your passport where you'd be taken aside, informed that you do have a travel ban. You will unfortunately not be able to make that flight. I mean, depending on the time and the situation of the cause of the travel ban, you might be able to try to sort it out, but it is highly unlikely that you'll be able to resolve it in time to be able to make your flight. If it's a bounce check, if it's whatever. And again, we're talking about potentially it being a fairly small amount. So, it can be a fairly distressing situation, especially if you're flying with family or kids, or your end destination is some sort of business trip.
Yeah.
So that's why it's really important to check beforehand if you have a nagging suspicion. And obviously, just don't let things fester. Again, it's a bit like medicine. Prevention is better than treatment.
Makes a lot of sense. If you discover that you have a ban, what's the legal process? What would happen if I came to you guys at Davidson & Co., for example, to have a ban lifted? Yeah. Does it take a long time? Is it weeks of court appearances? Is it an overnight process? How does it work?
So I think it's The answer depends on the nature of the ban and the underlying case that has prompted the travel ban. If the ban is linked to some sort of a financial obligation where the amount is clear and undisputed, so for example, like a bounce check or a credit card debt, etc., really the fastest route is to settle that amount, either to pay the amount owed or to reach an agreement with the creditor over some sort of installment plan, etc., so that you can have that case withdrawn, and the court would be able to lift that ban. In that sort of straightforward case, this can happen within a couple of days. So you can be able to resolve that fairly quickly. Okay. If the ban is the result of a court judgment, and again, let me sort of explain that, then you would have been, or you should have been notified, probably through a legal notice first, or through some sort of, for example, the bank may have notified you, or the landlord may have notified you. You may have received a legal notice. There's a court case that's been opened. You haven't shown up to that court case. There's been a judgment against you, and it has been a final judgment, and it is going through the system again. So that path has been completed, and you have that ban on you. Then there's either to try to appeal the merits of the case or to try to settle the judgment amount that has been imposed against you to have that travel ban lifted. And sort of, I guess, if there is a situation, which doesn't happen often, but it can happen, if there is a travel ban that's been issued wrongfully, either the underlying claim is unfounded, or you weren't properly notified, or there's some sort of procedural defect, you can challenge that through what's known as an objection with the court that issued the travel ban. This will take longer, but it is absolutely the right path if the claim against you has no merits. I would certainly advise not settling the case just to have the travel ban lifted. There are means to be able to try to have that ban lifted without you effectively admitting to something that you haven't done. So again, the nuance there is that it depends on the nature of the ban, how it was issued, and why it was issued. Obviously, get some legal advice if there's any issues there.
Okay, so it can be a reasonably straightforward process, and I guess by the same token, a travel ban can be issued pretty quickly as well.
It certainly can. Again, for those kind of clear and cut cases where there is where the evidence shows that there isn't really a dispute over the amount, or that there is an obligation that is due, for example, a loan that you have taken out with a bank, or credit card debt, unpaid rent, etc. Those are fairly straightforward cases in terms of liability. And if it's ignored, you can find that travel ban being issued against you, or if you are the creditor trying to ensure that you are repaid, that travel ban can be issued in a couple of days as well.
Okay. We've all heard the stories of individuals blocked from travel because of corporate disputes, even if they're not the primary party named in a case. Can an employee be hit with a travel ban because of legal issues of a company they work for? And I guess by extension, how can professionals ensure they're legally kind of ring-fenced from their employer's commercial disputes?
Yeah, so it depends on what we mean by employee. So if it is just an employee of a company, it would be quite challenging to see how a travel ban would be imposed on that employee if it's the company itself that is the defendant in a case, or has an obligation of some sort. But if you are effectively either the primary owner of a company, or you are the general manager on the trade license, or you're the director of record, you might find yourself named in an application for a travel ban, because You may have either signed personal guarantees on behalf of the company. You may have given a guarantee of some sort over the commercial lease that is owed to the company. So that's how you can find yourself as a case against the company, but you are either a senior executive in the company or you're a general manager where you can find it. But typically speaking, a general employee is not going to find themselves in that unless they have some sort of signatory authority or managerial responsibility where they have been involved in.
Okay. When it comes to travel bans, what legal or financial mistakes are UAE residents? What mistakes are we still making in 2026?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is, and I sort of alluded to it, I think earlier, is kind of letting things fester because a travel ban is not the start of a situation. It's really the tail end of a situation that has gone on for significantly longer than it has been. So it is ignoring financial debts that have that are owed. Either you can't make the payment or you're disputing the payment, and you sort of let it fester. You've either ignored warnings, you've ignored legal notices, you may have ignored court notices, and that's how things have kind of festered there. It is significantly better to try to work out some sort of repayment plan or installment plan to be able to pay those debts off. If there's an issue with a bounce check, to ensure that you either write a new check very quickly, you try to settle that amount some other a method of payment, to not let things fester to the point where you are finding yourself at an airport having a travel ban against you. Another thing that I think is occurring more recently, because the landscape of the UAE is becoming more regulatory nature, things like corporate tax, regulatory environment, especially for things like, for example, crypto and digital assets, etc. So those regulatory environments where companies haven't done their obligations. For example, they haven't filed their tax returns, they haven't gotten the proper licensing, and there's some sort of regulatory fine against them that they've again ignored, that may find its way to resulting in a travel ban. So again, you just got to take a bit of a more proactive step, making sure that you are complying with measures, that you're not letting financial obligations kind of fall behind. And if you are facing that trouble, speak with your creditors, speak with a lawyer to be able to work out a plan as to how to avoid a situation which is resulting in a travel ban.
It comes down very much to awareness, doesn't it? I mean, if you're, for example, I don't know, you're moving jobs or you're closing old accounts or dealing with a new property sale, whatever it might be, it's the awareness that, ignorance is no excuse, obviously. If you have that nagging suspicion that there may be something untoward, I suppose. That's really what it comes down to, isn't it? It's a sense of responsibility.
I mean, again, a travel ban at the airport, or just a travel ban period, is really kind of the end of the chain link, if you will. If we look at a chain, there's the individual links. That travel ban is really the absolute tail end of that chain. It's not the beginning. So if you're standing there in front of immigration, you're hearing that there's a travel ban against you, in very, very, very rare situations, it is because you have no idea what this is about. There is something that has been happening and has been festering that you have either completely ignored, and it has resulted in this. So it's much better to sort of try to resolve this at the initial steps before it starts festering into creditors coming after you, receiving legal notices, receiving notifications from the court, etc., until you find yourself in a situation like that. So yes, it is very much awareness. It is very much proactive behavior, so that you can find that. And I think there's a little bit, like, I think that we're getting a bit better about that personal liability, but it's still a bit unclear when it comes to things like bounce checks in personal capacity, but especially when it comes to startups and to SMEs, where people have formed a company rather quickly. They haven't quite understood the legal obligations that are there. They may have given personal guarantees, and they think because it's a company, it doesn't involve me directly. But there is a way where you, as a general manager, as the owner of the company, can find yourself personally liable for certain things.
Final piece of advice, and I guess I know, bearing in mind what we've discussed today, I know what it's going to be. It's don't let things fester. Deal with your stuff, really, isn't it?
It's don't be reactive. Be proactive. The UAE legal system is significantly more sophisticated than when I got here over 12 years ago. It is efficient. It is creditor friendly. Virtually all things are digital nowadays, and so this means the time a dispute becomes a legal matter that affects your life in a tangible way, like blocked bank accounts, travel bans, enforcement action, can happen fairly quickly if the situation is not resolved beforehand. So, whether you are a resident or you're a business owner, you need to kind of navigate this environment and treat legal compliance as kind of an ongoing housekeeping. It's not crisis management. It's just one of those things that you have to do. Check your obligations, respond to correspondence. Don't ignore an email or a letter that has come from a law firm or a bank. Certainly not the court. And don't let small disputes fester into court cases, into travel bans, etc., so that you can avoid that exposure, whether to you personally or through your business. Get that advice early while your options are still open and costs are manageable, and you can try to be able to resolve it sooner rather than later.
Strong advice. That is the fine print for today. Raymond Kasmani is a partner at Davidson and Company. Raymond, always a pleasure. Appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
To stay ahead of the regulatory changes, legal trends affecting your life here in the UAE, make sure to like and subscribe. This is Mira Business FM.
Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.